long, we've been shown smoothened skin and perfect faces in the beauty world, whether it's through magazines and the glossies, whether it's through ads, whether it's through brand campaigns, which is also why somewhere for me it was so important that when we launched Wearified, and since we've launched Wearified, every single face you see on our social media or on our website, it has a little stamp on it that says no edit, no filter. Sometimes, we get messages, DMs, both me and the brand page on Instagram, where people will come and tell us, hey, we'd love to see you launch, let's say, for example, a cream blush. And I'll reply to people and say to them that, cream blushes are trending and cream blushes are big right now, but we won't do them because we don't see that they're conducive to Indian weather and daily wear. I have gotten thrown off many PR lists because I'm very honest about my reviews and I'm okay with it. How many lipsticks do I own? At least 100 because 20 are the Wearified only.
Hello and welcome back on Luxe Insider with me, your host Anita Khatri. Thanks for the overwhelming response for the beauty episodes that I had to be back with a bonus episode in this season. Today, I have an extraordinary treat for all you beauty enthusiasts. I have a very special guest joining us today. None other than the fabulous Aanam C. Hello Aanam, welcome to my podcast. And I'm so happy to chat with you, Aanam.
Hi Anita, thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Most of you would be already familiar to who Aanam is. But for those who are not, Aanam is not only a leading lifestyle beauty influencer, but she's also a multi-talented individual who wears many hats. Podcaster, entrepreneur, and so much more. From her early days as an influencer to the challenges and triumphs of building her own beauty empire. Let's dive deeper and get talking to her. So Aanam, you started as a blogger at a very young age. What were the challenges that you had to overcome at the beginning?
I've been a content creator for almost 12 years at this point, and it's pretty much what I have done all of my adult life. I was in college when I started out, like you rightly pointed out, and I think I was 19 or 20 at the time, and it's been insane. I think that when it comes to the challenges like you asked, for me, one of the major challenges I always had was getting people to take me seriously. Because when I started out, I wasn't just a content creator. Content creation at that point of time wasn't a full-fledged business or an industry like it is today. It was something that I was doing as a hobby then, while I was actually freelancing in social media, which was, the monetary aspect of what I did for a job while I was even still in college. And so I think that right from then, I think that the biggest challenge I had was getting people to take me seriously, because when they read my emails or when they spoke to me on the phone, they thought they were speaking to someone well into their 30s. And then when they would meet me in person or realize that the person they're speaking to is actually, 20. And especially with women, I think this is an ongoing problem well into your 30s even, for that matter. That was definitely a huge challenge. And I think that challenge is something I came back to. It was a weirdly full circle moment when I started my, my business journey, my brand journey with Wearified. Sure. I started working on Wearified in 2017 and I launched it in 2021. Even then, the challenge came back. The first one had to be the fact that when people saw a woman working on her own, without a male co-founder or, just someone to represent that was a man, getting taken seriously has always been problem number one of many, but problem number one.
Well, that's been one of the most challenging part, if I may say so. There are a number of challenges. As an entrepreneur, of course, we'll come to that later. But yes, as you explained to me, well, you have accomplished it all and you've overcome those challenges in flying colors, if I may say so.
Thank you.
What is your go-to makeup? your favorite products that you are right now using?
I mean, no points for guessing. It's a whole lot of Wearified products.
Okay.
My daily use products that I can't do without, are either samples or products that are already out. One of our hero, absolute bestseller star products is the Wearified IRL Paris Filter Airbrush Powder, which stands for In Real Life Paris Filter, which I've borrowed from the Instagram story filter that smoothens and blurs out your skin, which is what inspired me to name that powder. So it's an airbrush powder that everyone can use on an everyday basis, irrespective of their skin type. And we sell out of that product within a couple of hours every time we restock it. So a challenge on the business side has definitely been learning how to create inventory for a product that could potentially do that well beyond our expectations even. That's definitely one of my go-to absolute favorite products. I'm fully one of those founders that is always wearing products from my brand, and sometimes I'm wearing products I can't talk about because those are samples that I'm testing for months, sometimes years at an end before launching. So my audience will immediately pick up on it sometimes in my YouTube videos when they'll be like, "What's that on your face?" And I don't respond to those comments, and they're like, "She responds to everything. The fact that she's not responding to this means it is a sample that she's wearing in this category." So I'm absolutely one of those founders that loves to wear my own products.
But you definitely wear your makeup. Without your makeup, you're never stepping out. Is that's
Not at all. In fact, I get I'm often pulled up for being a beauty content creator who so often doesn't wear makeup.
Okay.
I was filming today for some branded content we were doing, or I would have logged on here with zero makeup. And if you've seen absolutely any of my vlogs, I'm very comfortable to be in a pair of pajamas with my hair up in a bun and having absolutely zero makeup on me. So I feel like there's people who appreciate that realness, and then there's people who are like, "Wait, you're a beauty content creator. Why aren't you wearing enough makeup?" But I feel like that's how I draw a sense of balance in my life, because I'm someone who I enjoy getting ready, but I enjoy getting ready when I want to get ready. I've gone for formal events completely makeupless various times, and I'm happy to do that if that's what I'm in the mood for. I feel like it's important to be authentic to how you feel.
Absolutely. You said it. But last when I had met, I know many years ago, when you were just an influencer, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur? And what was the idea behind Wearified? I mean, how did it all begin as an entrepreneur?
For me, eventually having a business of my own, whether even as an influencer, it is a business of your own. It is a legitimate career. It is something that is now finally well recognized. I have a team of people that's been working with me for the past 6 to 7 years. We have, agencies that work with us as creators, agencies that represent us. So I do think that in itself is a business already. Having said that, going into the product space was inevitable for me because I knew that is how I wanted to diversify. I grew up in a home where my parents had their own businesses. I have an older brother who has his own business as well. My parents have been in product all their life. My older brother is in service. And just wanting to do something of my own and create a product of my own was almost but natural, because I grew up with business-led, dinner table conversations. So listening to my parents discuss a certain business strategy or understanding how pricing is done was something that I've been listening to and hearing about since I was a kid, since my brother and I were kids. So what I wanted to do, of course, I took my time in figuring out, because I felt it was really important for me to do something I felt very passionate about. And as someone who's loved beauty for as long as I have, as someone who has struggled with finding things in my skin tone or struggled with formulas that I don't think are made for Indian skin tone or Indian weather, those are things I've always been really passionate about from the content side of it. And then I guess for me, I had one of those light bulb moments in 2016-17 when I said, you know what? I complain about this in my content. Maybe I need to come up with a solution, because I don't think there are enough Indian weather based and Indian skin tone based, products and brands that start with that. India is a market that is very by the way.
In fact,
to so many
I was just going to ask you that because in the beauty space, there are so many brands and so many international brands along with Indian brands. What made you get into this industry? But now you have already given me the answer. You were in search of those specific products. So have you managed to launch those specific products which you found the gap in?
I feel like it's a long list when it comes to the idea of where I found the gaps, whether it was shade ranges or textures and formulas. I feel like I have a wish list of very many categories.
Okay.
Today, Wearified is, I want to say, about 20 months old, 21 months old, and we're shy of two. That's it. And and we have about 72 SKUs out. So we've definitely worked really hard on bringing product to the fore. It was really important for me in the first year since launching to go hard on product launches, which is why I took 4 years of research, before launching as well, because I think it's easy to, especially in today's times, it's easy to kind of turn the page on an influencer brand because you think that it's a cash grab or you think it's a fly by night. But I really wanted to make it known that I'm here for serious business. I'm here for the long haul. This is, it's a marathon for me and I'm here to stick around for it. So I wanted to make sure that our first 100 SKUs that we launch are all products that people will see recall value in and be able to purchase. For us, one of the biggest winning factors has been a really high return rate for customers. And with beauty, an industry that is so fickle, that's a big win for us.
Yeah, I think in beauty, industry is not easy at all because you have to register, get certain licenses, all your products have to be tested, and then they qualify to be some specific act, right? It's like, I don't know whether it's not really pharma, but there's some act that you have to register, get a license.
Actually, a lot of it is similar to pharma because it is at the end of the day application on skin, right? So you do have to have specific licenses for every single SKU you launch.
Okay.
Not just every single SKU that you launch, the labs that you work with have to be abreast with all of their manufacturing licenses. So what I don't think gets talked about enough is that being on this side, especially in the beauty space, is very, very expensive.
Yes.
There's a lot that goes into R&D. There's a lot that goes into manufacturing. There's a lot that goes into, of course, also the fact that you are hopefully working with really good labs. Like the labs we're working with are Italians who make up for the who's who of the world global beauty space.
Okay.
So it's really important to keep those standards there. And for me, that was even more important because apart from coming in as an entrepreneur, what was also a very big factor was that my credibility would give this brand the initial boost. But if anything happens to this brand, it reflects on me, and if anything happens to me, it reflects on this brand. If there are pros to being an influencer brand and there are cons to being an influencer brand, so I had to be very cognizant of those aspects.
Absolutely. In fact, taking a decision of going on an entrepreneur path itself is a risk-taking path, right? So you embrace risk. And here you had risk raised to power of 2 is what I'm hearing. So it would be only right to ask you that I at the start of my conversation, I asked you what were the challenges you faced as an influencer. So now, what were the challenges you faced as an entrepreneur, aside from the fact that you were young and as an entrepreneur which has not been spearheaded by a male companion, you mentioned that to me. But were there anything else as challenges which you would like to share?
Well, mine is a bootstrapped, self-funded company. I took those 4 years from 2017 to 2020, 2021 till I launched in October 21 to collect capital, in a sense, like, how every month, like, I would put aside a Wearified fund pocket money and say, okay, this % of my earnings this month is going into the Wearified fund. So the capital in itself was a really, really important and very tough factor, and tough more so because because again, in the beauty space, manufacturing is done on such large scales. It was almost, for a while I did lose hope, impossible almost for me at that point to be like, okay, who is going to be willing to do this for me on a relatively smaller scale? Mind you, relatively smaller for beauty is very relative, because when I tell my friends who have fashion brands, for them, when they hear that I made 50,000 units of something, they're like, what?
Yeah.
But for beauty, 50,000 units of something is like nothing, right? They go into like hundreds of thousands, because that, of course, economies of scale and your cost price becomes lesser and all of that good stuff. But what I did do, what I learned from my previous experience of people not taking you seriously as a woman and a young woman was my husband, actually, who worked in advertising for 21 years, quit his job in 2019, quit his entire advertising career in 2019 and joined me full time.
Wow.
And that was a big boon, because then I would say, hey, can you handle these vendors, because they seem to not listen to me, and it seems like it's because I'm a woman. So there were certain vendors that I would deal with, and then there were certain vendors that I would have him deal with, even though dealing with vendors is not part of his job profile with me at all. So I found my little jugards and solutions around situations like that.
Yeah, can understand. No, but it's great that your husband, after having a career, has joined your business. That itself is quite something in itself. Yeah, so that's nice. In your brand ethos, you say beauty is imperfect at most times, which is a very interesting statement. Like, could you just elaborate and throw light on the essence of this particular statement?
I mean, I don't think that I think that for so long we've been shown smoothened skin and perfect faces in the beauty world, whether it's through magazines and the glossies, whether it's through ads, whether it's through brand campaigns, which is also why somewhere for me it was so important that when we launched Wearified, and since we've launched Wearified, every single face you see on our social media or on our website, it has a little stamp on it that says no edit, no filter. So the way something comes out of the memory card is exactly how you see it on our communication, whether it's anywhere, on any of our assets. For me, the idea that things need to be perfect is really annoying, frankly. I feel like it's not realistic. I feel like for so long we've been shown these ridiculous standards of beauty, and women have, gone the whole 9 yards in trying to achieve them. So
Yes.
I feel like instead of saying, oh, everyone's perfect, I'm like, you know what? Nobody is perfect. Sit back and let's just say that to ourselves. Someone's upset about not having great skin, someone's upset about hair fall, someone's upset about having a paunch, someone's upset about cellulite, someone's upset about being too skinny, someone's upset about being, clearly not skinny. Nobody is perfect. There is no perfect. Perfect does not exist.
I hope all youngsters are listening to this, because in this time, in the Instagram time, I would say every girl, every woman wants to have that perfect look, and it's so disturbing, right? What you're saying, it making so much. I mean, that's the reality. What you're saying.
I remember it's just one of those things. I remember I was in like the 4th or 5th standard, Anita, and I said to my mom one day, because I've always been obsessed with Disney princesses. Of course, as I've gotten older, I've realized I don't want a strange man to kiss me while I'm asleep, or I don't need saving. But I was very obsessed with Disney princesses when I was much younger. And I remember saying to my mother this one time that, I could never be a princess, because princesses have these long flowing hair and they're so fair and they're so pretty, and I don't think I'm pretty enough to be a princess. And I will never forget my mother's reaction to that. She was so, in that moment, I think she just felt so like, oh my God, my daughter thinks like that of herself. Where she said to me that's rubbish. You don't need saving. You will do your own saving, and you don't need to be thin and tall. And I was always skinny as a child. but it isn't an attribute that she wanted to reinforce in me. She was like, you don't need to be skinny, or you don't need to have tall, you don't need to be tall or have long hair, and you don't need these things, and you don't need to be fair. You are pretty, everyone's pretty. And I think that really, I think as adults, when we start going to therapy, we realize those moments in our nascent years, developing years, that have really helped make us who we are. And that's one of those moments for me, where I realized that a lot of my confidence comes from that conversation that happened with my mom when I was like 9 years old. And that's why I don't think perfect exists. I think that perfect is a myth. I think that for so long we've almost been programmed, and it's
Yes.
so deeply rooted and conditioned within us to look at things and people and go, wow, so perfect. But nothing's perfect. You don't know what the other person is going through. When magazines would often post and say who wore it better, and you'll always see that happen with women, you'll never see that happen with men.
Yes,
And I'm
that's
like,
true.
why is that a thing? Why do we find it okay to pick two women, opposite each other? But you don't do that for men when two men are wearing Tom Ford tuxedos. I mean, I don't see that.
Yes.
So perfect doesn't exist. And so I feel like it's important for my brand and its ethos to communicate very vocally.
Very
that
well said. Very
this
well
is-
said. And you're living up to it. Very, 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 very well said. No, it's really nice, Aanam. I'm telling, because one thing is, you would agree, and probably I would like to hear you again, that younger generation, and I'm talking about I don't know what the future looks like, because everything is changing at what speed. One really cannot keep up to the speed at times. But I'm talking about the girls who are 13, 14, 15, 16s and 17s and 18s even today. They want everything to be perfect. And on one end, because of this hunger of being perfect, is actually driving and giving a boost to the beauty industry. On the other hand, we are people like you who stating that being imperfect is in your DNA. I mean, this is something very nice. It's being genuine. It's just reflecting how genuine your brand is. And I hope and wish that more and more brands actually drive this point out in the marketplace, so that while it should not decrease the demand, I would say, for beauty, or it should not cause as an impetus for the growth of beauty industry. But without taking that risk, if we can communicate to the younger generation, it is okay to be who you are, because imperfect is also perfect, and it's beautiful. Yeah, also when I was going through your website, there was another statement that I came across which intrigued me. To a certain extent, you've already replied to me, but maybe you could tell me a little bit more about it, that you want to fulfill the gaps which are existing in the beauty industry. What are these gaps that you are referring to?
Well, for one, communication. Like I said, we don't edit our photos, we don't edit our videos. There is never smoothing, there is never filters, and that rule of thumb applies to my own content as well, which is how it transcends over to Wearified, right? I feel like gaps when it comes to products is very important. Like I mentioned earlier, for a lot of brands from outside India that come into India, testing in Indian weather, being for Indian weather, is not at the core of their necessity, because India is just another market for them. Whereas I feel for me, India is my core. I've grown up here, I've lived here, I know what lasts. I understand that there are trends of certain kind of products, and sometimes we get messages, DMs, both me and the brand page on Instagram, where people will come and tell us, hey, we'd love to see you launch, let's say for example, a cream blush. And I'll reply to people and say to them that, you know what, cream blushes are trending and cream blushes are big right now, but we won't do them because we don't see that they're conducive to Indian weather and daily wear. Will I do it when I'm a brand big enough to have a little bit more disposable income to be like, okay, now let's just have excess products, and sure, maybe one day. But the core of my brand, which is where I feel like the first 5 years are going to be spent from launching Wearified, is so strictly about building classic, must-have, need-based products. We believe very strongly that our products should make you feel a certain way, not just look a certain way. How your makeup makes you feel is so important. Today, I'm sitting here with no lipstick. I'm just wearing my lip oil, and I feel like I'm comfortable enough because it makes me feel confident enough. It makes me feel like it's good enough. If your makeup doesn't do that for you, if your skincare doesn't do that for you, what is it even doing? So I feel like that filter of what is required, what will work, is it a solution to something, is what I look at when I'm looking at products that potentially fill gaps in the Indian market.
So actually being an influencer who's directly connected with the audience really helps you to being an entrepreneur also.
100%.
Very, very clearly.
100%.
And you listen to the audience. And today, more and more brands obviously know they are getting closer and closer to their customers, especially after lockdown. Everybody tries to find ways to listen to their customers, but here you already are listening to the customers. Bravo. Good way. I mean, good way to move forward. Now, when you look at other brands in the marketplace, especially many celebrities have been launching beauty brands, right? Do you feel they are your competitors, or who are your competitors? If I had to ask you, who are Wearified's competitors?
No, it's impossible for me to look at anything as with a competitive lens, because let's be honest, everyone's working for a different audience at a different scale. And I feel like for me, as Wearified brand founder, what is competition for me is how can we better our products. I'll give you an example. We launched this star product that I was talking about, IRL Paris filter, the airbrush powder that we launched last year in April. And while the product flew off the shelf in the first 2 or 3 rounds, we had our inventory was over, it was out. I did not see that coming at all. We did get customer feedback about how, for some people, because it was a talc-free formula when we launched it, and because it was talc-free and had lesser binding agents in the formula, if it fell, it would break.
Oh.
Whereas typically your blushes that have talc, or your products that have talc, have a little bit more hold. Okay. We didn't go into production for around whatever it was at that time, 3 or 4. I said, no, hold our production. Let's take this back to the drawing board and see how we can do better. We stayed out of stock for about, I want to say 7 to 8 months, which is a really long time for a business at my scale, minuscule sales.
And a young brand like yours.
And a young brand. We could have continued to selling what we were selling and made the money. Correct. But I said, I don't want to do that. For me, I want every batch to be more fine-tuned than the previous one.
Quality matters to you. That's it.
It's very important. The customer experience is, the holy grail. It's divine for me. And I stopped production on that. We said, do more break tests, figure this out. Eventually, when we came back into stock with stock 7 or 8 months later, I had to put talc in the final formula because there was no way I could compete with my previous batch without it. And to me, that is my competition. To me, if I can do a product better than my previous batch, take customer feedback into consideration. For me, if I can sell more units on a new launch than I did for the last one, I'm competing with my own numbers and I'm competing with my own timeline, because I would be a fool to think I can compete with brands that operate at much bigger scales. It's not realistic. They have higher profit margins, they make at bigger scales, they have bigger marketing budgets than I do. I have not spent a rupee on marketing on this brand since we launched. And yet, if you go on YouTube and search Wearified lipstick swatches or Wearified review, you're going to see close to 1,000 videos. And all of that is just people who purchased the product and chosen to review it. I'm very grateful for that kind of support from the audience, from subscribers, from customers.
Lovely.
But
lovely.
I wouldn't want to, I would be a fool to think I could compete with the bigger scale guys. So who am I going to compete with? I'm going to compete with myself. I'm going to say that if I can sell 2x the quantity on new product launch than I did on whatever launched last, I'm happy. It means we've done better numbers. For me, that is competition.
Very nice to hear what you said. And it's just reflecting one thing. Just being what you are and being real. That's again very, very nice. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
No, but talking about competition, in continuation, now that you are wearing so many hats, influencer and also an entrepreneur. So, being an influencer, do you hesitate now to, create content for other beauty brands on your feed, especially now that you have verified?
Not at all. If you
How
go
do you
through my
how do you then draw the line?
I don't. I truly, genuinely don't. Because if you go through my feed over the last almost 2 years since we've had Wearified since October 2021, you still see me feature brands that would be considered as quote unquote competitors, whether it's price or categories. The thing that I'm really clear about, Anita, is that there's place for everyone. There's room for everyone. When you wear clothes, you typically wear 3 or 4 brands at a time. When you are someone that enjoys doing your makeup, you wear 15 brands on your face in a day. Why should I compete with the other 14? You can all coexist. You can all live.
Aanam, that's the way you look at it. Would brands hesitate working with you? Let me put it the other way around. Did you find that, that brands are hesitating now, interacting and asking you to create content ever since Wearified has happened?
No, I would have expected that. And it was something I was initially a little bit nervous about. And I remember discussing this with my husband, because I said, now, me as a creator is the bread and butter of, the household. We're putting all our eggs into the basket with Wearified. You quit your career, you're joining Wearified, and this is still the business that pretty much runs, the house. And he said, what, just have faith that the brands that are worthy of still working with you will continue to work with you. And it's so true, because now I was having this very interesting conversation with an agency and with another brand at 2 different times. And they both validated to me that me having my own brand actually adds more legitimacy and credibility
to yourself.
That I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm reviewing. And then, of course, I also have to be able to be unbiased, which I am. I feel like I will always be a creator first. And that's probably why also we've seen, not to take all the credit to myself, because I think I have a fantastic team, but I think strategy, and because I was managing the social media for the first year all by myself, on the other page also, on the brand page also, I feel like the social media presence for the brand as well is so strong. I feel like it goes hand in hand, and I have to be able to be a creator first and be able to say, I don't, for me, if it's a good formula, it's a good formula. I don't care what brand it's coming from. And that's who I am. I should admit, I have gotten thrown off many PR lists because I'm very honest about my reviews and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's true. But, I would like to say something to you, Aanam. The fact that you come as an influencer and you now are also an entrepreneur, you exactly know the journey of that brand, the beauty products that are you actually creating content or you are promoting them, you would respect them much more, understand them much more. You are in a better position to understand, respect the hurdles that they come with and what they are actually trying to achieve. This particular position is also helping you to understand them better, is what my take is, yeah?
100%, 100%. So many times now when I see a PR kit, those extensive PR kits that you get, ever since we, launched Wearified, I'm like, wow, that's now, not only is that a nice PR kit, I know that's an expensive PR kit. I know they've spent a lot more on that,
yes,
than other marketing attributes. And I appreciate that aspect so much more, for sure. I always had respect for beauty brands. It's definitely gone up. And I feel like today I also understand, like, I can give feedback sometimes when brands ask you for on things like packaging, details, things that I maybe didn't have an eye for before Wearified.
Right.
The detailing that I can go into now, today I understand that this kind of packaging is made in India, this kind of packaging is not made in India, they've sourced from Europe. So those are the kind of things that now I feel like I have a little bit more of an in on, for sure, 100%. But as an influencer, as a content creator, I would never have a biased or an unbiased, have a biased view and be like objective about what I had to say about a formula or a product.
Right. So, one question that I wouldn't leave you without asking is, what is beauty to you?
For me, beauty is whatever works on that day. On some days, I feel beautiful with a full face of makeup on, and on some days, I feel beauty is just about slapping on that SPF, some moisturizer, and saying, okay, I'm done. Beauty to me is subjective on how I'm feeling, and I feel like beauty can be found anywhere and everywhere if that's what you're looking for. It's very personal. It's not perfect in my eyes, and I think that it's a journey that you truly have to be on, because if you asked 20-year-old Aanam about how she felt versus 30-year-old Aanam about how she's feeling, I don't think at 20 I would have had not only the confidence but also the perspective of saying, hey, you're beautiful, like I'm beautiful. Today I feel like I can say that without batting an eyelid, not because of how I think I look, but because how I think I feel. And maybe at 50 I'll feel more strongly about the things I do. Maybe I'll change my mind. We'll have to find out. But to me, beauty is just, it changes with every day, and it's ever evolving as a journey.
Nice. So before I say goodbye to you, Aanam, just tell me, you have anything else to share with us? You want to ask anything so that we can move on, because I'm not leaving you. I'm going to get into a fun rapid fire round before we say goodbye. Huh?
Let's do that then.
Let's do that. Okay. So your off-duty go-to makeup look is?
Moisturizer, Wearified lip oil, some blush.
Favorite snack?
Any junk food. I'm a big junk food.
Okay. Like what? One junk food if you had to say?
Pani puri.
Oh, lovely.
Chaat.
Okay.
Welcome. Samosas from Punjab Sweet House. Anything chaat.
Okay. First thing you do after waking up?
Go take a shower.
A beauty trend you will never try?
Never say never. Never say never. Even though I'm thinking of a few and cringing, I'll never say never. Because you never know what content piece you might think of.
That's true. One beauty product that you're currently obsessed with?
It's actually a sample that we haven't launched as yet, but if I had to say one that I am, my Wearified IRL airbrush powder.
Yeah. Nude lips or classic red?
Blasphemy to make me choose one of those two. I'll go with a nude lip.
Oh, nice. How many lipsticks do you own?
How many lipsticks do I own? At least 100.
Wow.
Easy. Because 20 are the Wearified only. So at least 100.
Wearified is?
Everything to me.
How nice. Was that fun for you, Aanam?
Lots of fun. I always enjoy a good rapid fire.
Thank you so much for joining us, Aanam. It was really great to catch up with you. And I think I only remember the Aanam influencer whom I met just for perhaps 20 minutes or so. But it's been a long time, and it's been great to catch up with you, understand Wearified, the DNA of Wearified. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on your podcast and, being such a wonderful host. I had a great time.
Yeah, coming from another podcaster, it makes my day. Thank you so much. Thank you, Aanam.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this bonus beauty episode. I'll be back soon with another interesting season. Stay tuned until then, and do not forget, follow me on Instagram. This is me, your host Anita Khatri, signing off.